Now, the rest of the story.
Welcome back. And I just got done planting beans this morning about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just got the corn planter, the bean planter back home, and I'm going through and checking the very first beans that we planted. This was the stuff that was planted about a week, potentially 2 weeks ago, and it was this field and everything across the road. There has been some serious talk about potential replant as of last night. Just my agronomist checking it from what he could see, but I can point it out to you really quick. You guys can see the ground is starting to heave up. You can actually see the rows where I planted, and that's the kind of neat thing about soybeans. It's a team effort sometimes. We have a little bit of a crust, and it's what all farmers are usually trying to avoid at this stage in the game, but this is exactly what happens. When you guys hear me complaining about crusting, that's your crust right there. So there's the top, and then you get that, it's about a ½ inch thick. But if the ground cracks up like it has here, beans are actually fairly resilient. See, we got a pretty nice group of teamwork right here. If you look down through here, pushing it up, and that's what soybeans will do. I can actually see the rows from the corn planter, which is a good sign. The ground is kind of hard across the road. That was planted into corn residue that was chiseled. What I'm looking at right now is how far along the emergence is, and tomorrow at noon they are calling for an 80% chance of rain. Oops. You guys didn't see that. And what I'm kind of looking at happening here is it's going to soften up the ground enough that once we get that rain, if it warms up a little, or it's going to stay warm from the looks of the forecast, the rest of these beans are just going to pop up right out of the ground. So the rest of the farm that hasn't had any real rain on it, that's been planted, it was planted in a lot better conditions. This stuff, it was cold and wet. Granted, generally hate yourself, or at least I hate myself having to do that, but it's one of the things about being a farmer. It's calculated risks. You look at your options that you have placed out in front of you, and you really just have to make a decision and go with it and own it, which, you know, isn't exactly always fun, but that's the thing about farming, is it's legalized gambling. It's, why would you go to the casino when you can do this and stress about your livelihood? It's kind of neat though, seeing that. Corn doesn't necessarily do that. So, but we're not going through and harrowing the ground after the corn, and I'll give you guys some updates on the corn too. Videos are few and far between because, well, it is the time of May where I'd rather be planting. I don't have any corn in yet, which, from the looks of it and what type of person I am, I'm waiting on my fertilizer tender, which it sounds, I just got the phone call. That is actually on its way, and I've got to go through, switch the bean meters out with corn meters, change all the depth settings and the row cleaner settings on the planter, and I'm going to start no-tilling into the soybean stubble up here. There's about 70 acres, 70 to about 85 acres that I could readily do in the next XYZ amount of time, and the stuff closer to home, obviously the home farm, a little bit easier to get going and get it done. We spent the last couple days away from home, and the problem we have with soybeans is we had issues, and those issues were the 82 gave us problems. So the last 2 days we started out really early with the intentions of, if we could have ran like we wanted to, like we intended to, I would have been done probably yesterday at noon, and the planter would already be switched over for corn. So with 82 going down, couldn't work ground down ahead of the planter, so I got everything planted up to what was worked. By the time they came down, got the 82 going, and Ryan got far enough ahead of me I could run. I ran from, was it noon yesterday till, well, 3 o'clock this morning. And then the day before that, it was similar to where we had rain that way. It was dry at home, but we had just enough rain to the west of us where we ended up waiting till about 11 o'clock that day to start planting, and then, you know, ultimately the 82 went down, because otherwise I would have went right through. And I mean, those are probably the easiest farms we have to plant as far as I'm currently concerned. The only thing is with beans is you only get about 20-25 acres done per fill, so you have to accommodate for that. And right now, that's where Ryan just came back from, is getting Dad started on the harrow. So Dad's going through and leveling everything out, and hopefully by, well, another hour or two I'll be putting corn in the ground. That's the update. I know the videos are few and far between, but as far as, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm trying. I gotta get to corn. Bye.